欢迎来英国接触饭. As many of you know, I am half Chinese and half Acadian. So the first food I'm making today is almond cookies. I'm using a somewhat original recipe from my mama, which is my grandma on my dad's side. But of course, some things may be different just because the recipe was passed down orally. But anyways, let's get started. My dad's side of the family originated from the Guangdong region in China, a coastal province in South China, located on the northern shore of the South China Sea. For a more absolute location, Guangdong is located at 2324 north, 11330 east. Fun fact, Guangdong is China's most populated province with a population of roughly 127 million people. 3 cups of flour. 1 cup of sugar. Guangdong is geographically cut off from the north by multiple mountain ranges, known collectively as the Nan Mountains or Nanling. The central region of Guangdong is populated mostly by Yu Chinese speakers, which is a branch of Sinitic languages spoken mostly in southern China. My family speaks Toshanese, which is the language I was speaking at the beginning, which is a language derived from, obviously, Toshanese people. The Toshanese people are predicted to have originated from central China, later migrating to Guangdong during the Tang Dynasty in around 618 to 907 CE. Now, 1/4 a teaspoon of salt and 1/2 a teaspoon of baking soda. 1 cup of shortening. Guangdong has a humid subtropical environment. The winters are short and dry, while the summers are hot, long, and humid. Guangdong has adapted to the increase in temperature due to climate change by building their infrastructure with natural heating and cooling in mind. Although the heat comes with a lot of downsides, an upside is that the hot weather is optimal for growing certain things, like almonds. 1 egg. Oh, 1/2 a teaspoon of vanilla extract. 1/2 a teaspoon of almond extract. After tirelessly slaving away, that's what your dough should look like. 1 cup of almonds. Guangdong, like many places in China, has an intricate relationship with Hong Kong and Macau. Historically, Hong Kong and Macau were parts of Guangdong before they became colonies of the UK and Portugal. Respectively, Hong Kong and Macau are special administrative regions, resulting in disputes such as border policies or water rights being settled between the SARS governments and the Guangdong provincial government. Here they are, before the oven. Also, post-production Jack here. I just want to clarify that my almond cookies look like pale because I forgot to put an egg wash on them, which is not even really my fault. My dad forgot to mention that, and I feel like that's really important. So if you're making fun of me because of how dry my almond cookies look, just like give me the benefit of the doubt, please. Thank you. For my second food, I've traveled west from Guangdong all the way over to Palestine. Today I'm making kak asari, a traditional Palestinian cookie. Technically speaking, it's a date ring, but same difference. Although I talked about a specific province with my other food, I'm going to be covering Palestine as a whole country since I couldn't find a specific place from where this thing originated from. 2.5 cups of flour. Then you need 1/4 a cup of milk powder, 1/4 a cup of powdered sugar, 1/4 a teaspoon of baking soda, 1/4 a cup of sesame seeds, 1/4 a cup of anise seeds, 1 tablespoon of ground anise. Palestine is a country located in West Asia. Palestine is made up of the Israel-occupied West Bank, including East Jerusalem and the Gaza Strip. Collectively, this land is known as the Occupied Palestinian Territories. And for the absolute location, Palestine is located at 31 north, 35 east. Not so fun fact, Gaza was Palestine's most populated city, with roughly 2 million people before the evacuation in 2023. Within less than a month of Israel's ground invasions, half of Gaza's citizens had relocated. A half a cup of olive oil, and then a half a cup of melted butter. Put this aside, and you're going to mix the yeast, sugar, and water together. Jerusalem is located on a plateau, surrounded by valleys. The West Bank is a mountainous range bordered by Jordan to the east and Israel to the north, south, and west. The West Bank is divided into three major regions: Mount Nablus, the Hermon Hills, and Jerusalem Mountains. One of Palestine's most significant features is its giant olive tree, recorded oldest in the world at over 4,000 years old. Now you let the dough sit for 30 minutes. In the meantime, the borders between Palestine and Israel have been in dispute for over a century. Geographically, the region of Palestine is an area in West Asia containing the modern states of Palestine and Israel. Here's a map showing which governments have ruled over which parts of the land since after World War I. Not only is this a great example of regions and how they affect modern society, but the Palestine-Israel war is also a prime example of movement. For example, citizens of both countries have been forced to migrate around for their survival, especially during intense eras of genocide or war. Like I mentioned earlier, after the invasion of Gaza in 2023, almost 1 million citizens were forced to evacuate to safe zones. Also, while the dough is waiting, we're going to work on the date paste. I don't have a food processor, so hopefully that works. Basically, you just put pitted dates, cinnamon, and warm water in your food processor. So a lot of my footage was missing from my camera. So Palestine's territory is inhabited with rich fertile valleys, such as the Jezreel Valley and Jordan River Valley. And speaking of olives, which I mentioned earlier, 45% of Palestine's land is used for olive farming. Fun fact, the olive tree is much more than a tree in Palestinian culture. It has become a nationally recognized symbol that represents connection to the land, peace, and most importantly, resilience. This tree's ability to cling to life and survive even during relentless attack makes it a symbol of hope, more important now than ever. Okay, that took so long, but here they are before the oven, and finally they are complete. Have a bite. Okay, that was worth like the hour to roll them all. Bienvenue dans ma cuisine. For my final food, I've traveled back close to home to Nova Scotia. Today I'll be making molasses cookies, a personal favorite recipe from my mom's side of the family. The recipe I'm using is exactly the one my grandma used to make. Nova Scotia is a Canadian province on the eastern coast of North America. It is one of Canada's 3 maritime provinces. Nova Scotia is almost fully surrounded by the Atlantic Ocean, except in the northwest corner where it is connected to the mainland via the Isthmus of Chignecto. That isthmus connects with New Brunswick. For an absolute location, Nova Scotia is located at 45 north, 63 west. Fun fact, Nova Scotia is the most populous province in Atlantic Canada, with roughly 1 million people. 1 cup of molasses, 1 teaspoon of salt, you need 3 cups of flour. Nova Scotia is Canada's second smallest province, surrounded by 4 major bodies of water. The Gulf of St. Lawrence is to the north, the Bay of Fundy to the west, the Gulf of Maine to the southwest, and of course the Atlantic Ocean to the east. Something interesting, nowhere in Nova Scotia is more than 42 miles from the ocean, or 67 kilometers. 2 teaspoons of baking soda. Nova Scotia is separated into 5 development regions. Cape Breton, which includes all of Cape Breton Island in the northeast, North Shore, which stretches from Amherst to Sherbrooke, Halifax. Halifax is the capital of Nova Scotia, and the Halifax region covers most of the southeast coast. The Annapolis Valley is located along Nova Scotia's Bay of Fundy. And lastly, the southern region covers most of the south of Nova Scotia. It's located along the southern shore of the Atlantic Ocean. Next, you add a half a cup of hot water 2 teaspoons of ginger root, 1 teaspoon of cinnamon, and 1 teaspoon of nutmeg. Nova Scotia is located on the traditional and unceded territory of the Mi'kmaq people. Nova Scotia was home to some of the first European settlements. In 1604, French colonizers traveled over to St. Croix Island, later migrating to Maine, which became the first ever permanent European settlement in the land we now call Canada. Shortening: a half a cup of sugar, 1 egg. Now you let it sit. The dough has chilled. Nova Scotia's landscape is known for its fertile fields, abundant harvests, and agricultural industry. Citizens have optimized the land to help contribute to the rich diversity of crops that are grown in Nova Scotia. This is the finished molasses cookies. I'm really excited to try these ones actually. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed the cookies of the world.
I